This tutorial is designed to show people how to use the Kerf Tool and Test Fit guide that we have available on our Etsy. We have a couple different versions, and we're hoping to answer as many questions and make sure that when you use this file that you're able to get the most out of the file. So the first thing I want to discuss is calipers. So calipers range from $10 for a plastic one, maybe 20 bucks for stainless or metal like this one from Harbor Freight, and they range all the way up to $100, $200, $300. They're a very precise tool. The problem is their application is not best for this. So we're going to be using the same piece of acrylic for this. And if you notice, if I just squeeze it a little bit, I'm getting 0.2060. But if I squeeze it more, I could get 0.2025. Well, why this matters is when you want something to fit, let's say if you want it to fit a little tight, or you want it to fit really tight, you can get that setting with these guides, but you can't get it with a caliper because you would have to squeeze the caliper to simulate how you want those pieces to fit together, and then have to add your machine's kerf. So of course people are struggling with this, because how would you possibly squeeze this the exact way that you want those pieces to interact with each other, and then take that number, hoping that you have it right, and then add what you think the kerf of the laser is, and then plug that into your design. And we're noticing that there's 34 to 36 different size variances. There's actually more, considering that Home Depot is nowhere close to a 1/4 inch, even though it's advertised. So what we're noticing is I'm actually going to make a follow-up for this. I'm going to give it free to anyone who's already purchased the guides. But I'm going to go much smaller because they're more in the 3/16 range. The only way a design that you have by default is going to work is if the piece of wood that you pick happens to magically match the slot that's in your design. So if there's 36 sizes here, the odds of whatever size is being on your design matching that piece of wood is 1 in 36. And if you're using the wood from Home Depot, it wouldn't even be in this 36. That's why people are struggling. The caliper has great uses, but it will not work at all when you're trying to work with slots, because it's telling you only part of the puzzle. It's telling you your material thickness, but it's not telling you the part of the puzzle that's the hardest one to come up with, which is kerf. So caliper has its uses, but anytime that you're doing slots, we want to just go ahead and take our caliper and set it aside, because we're not going to use it at all. This is technically a file because you're getting it digitized, but it's really a tool. So we need to understand that. The reason why I have to give it to you as a file, though, is because if I were to sell this, this is mated to my machine and its kerf. If you take this, it might not give you the best results. If I have a very clean, brand new Glowforge, and you have a big blue laser, and you got some mileage on it, this gauge isn't going to work for you. You'll have to actually print it out on the machine that you want to use it on. So much to say, if you have 2 or 3 machines, which some of you do, you're going to need to make a guide for each of those machines, because the kerf is going to be different, and that's what we're trying to capture. Once it's captured, we don't even care what it is, because the tool is already going to account for it. It makes this so simple. This is our test piece of acrylic. It's just an extra spare piece. If I take this, this is 1/8 medium red oak PG. If I put it in, I could get it into 198, but it's extremely tight. 199 is tight, it's very snug, and it feels good. I actually think the only reason I'm getting it in 198 is because there's a little bit of flex in this piece, simply because it's 1/8 material. So I would never make the guide out of 1/8 material. But 199 is the perfect spot. This is made out of 1/8 medium red oak. 1/8 cerulean tides ivory. 200 fits in, it's snug, but it's a little loose. Again, 199, perfect number. This is the same piece of black acrylic, again, cerulean tides. We'll take this, you see 200 goes in fairly easy. Still snug, no shake, but that 199 is just flawless. Here is thick maple, proof grade, 199. Again, nice, great fit. 200 goes in nice, but it's just pulls out a little easy. And then 198, really got to shove it in there. So again, still consistent, even though we're using all of these different materials. Now, watch this. 199 goes in easy. 198 goes in easy. 197 goes in easy. And here's why. The settings I used to cut this were aggressive. So I made an inaccurate guide. It's not because the material is different, because I've just shown you 1/8 inch red oak, 1/8 inch ivory, 1/4 inch black acrylic, and 1/4 inch thick maple all worked. I dialed back the settings, 163 full. This is Smoky Hill maple. And as soon as I did that, now the 199 fits nice and tight. You couldn't even get it into 198 if you tried. And on this one, I could probably get into 196. And you could see the difference in the charring. Same materials. If your guide isn't working for you when you're putting some materials in, it's not the fact that you made it with a different material. It's the fact that you might have been over aggressive and you might have influenced and made an inaccurate guide there. I just showed you this is 1/4 inch acrylic, and it worked with 5 different materials. Does not matter what you make the guide out of as long as you cut it accurately. So you're going to want to make sure you have your settings dialed in. If you're not sure if you have the proper settings for something, use a piece of proof grade or use something that you know that you have the settings locked in for so that you make an accurate guide. I use proof grade on this. Now, is proof grade or wood the best thing to use? Potentially. It's not going to cut acrylic, where if I would make this out of acrylic and I'm sliding the piece I want in, I could potentially scratch my acrylic. Now, of course, I'm going to do it with the corner of a test piece. You got to remove the masking or anything that would influence it. But if you make them out of wood, you should be good to go. People ask why I have different models. Well, there's a few reasons. This one's going to be the most accurate. Ideally, this is what you should print it on, because you're going to get some flex if you really force it in, but you're going to get minimal flex, especially if it's on 1/4 inch or thick material. Why did I make one for side slot entry? This is going to be my simulation. Scrap circle of acrylic, and you want to make something within this. You're not going to be able to get enough meat in the guide because it's a large circle or a shape that doesn't have a corner. If you're doing a test fit where it doesn't have to be insanely tight, you could use these and cheat because they're easier to go into because you're going to get that initial flex on the opening. So what you want to do is, look, I could probably fit this a little bit tighter. See, I made it go into 198. I kind of tricked it. The reason why I didn't score all the way is there was a sticker on this. But if I try to push it all the way in, it won't reach that corner. But it went in easy, So you might prefer to use this, but if you do, you got to go all the way in. So look, we'll go down, and now that 199, it's going to make it all the way in. So there is a use for this one, and as long as you're not forcing it, you might just be fine using this. Now, why I use this, if you have to measure a bunch of stuff, look how easy that goes in because there's so much flex at the end. Now again, 198, it won't get in there all the way. I got to really force it. But that 199, look how easy it slides in to begin with. And then you could get it to touch the end. So that's how you know. So that's why there's 3 different files. Use the one that works best for you. They're all the same, but they each have a different application. Also, if you're using something like this, eventually you're going to wear away. So if you notice this, if I keep jamming that corner in there, and I'll even do it to show you, I could start to chip away at this if I'm constantly going for the smaller one. But if I start big and I go up and I could see how it's fitting, you'll put a less wear and tear on here. So basically what I'm getting at is you'll have to replace these every now and then, depending on how much use and how much you beat them up. So what I would do is, the center is going to be the least accurate anyway. So put it in on the center and then bring it to the edge. That's the one that fits good. And see how it makes it to the edge? And as long as, if you enter the edge and you mess up the edge, then you're going to wear the tool. I would go in on the center and get that to touch the edge and the edge, and you'll get it to last a while. But you only have to print these once until you break them, you wear them, or if something significantly affects your machine. If you buy a new lens, if you do a huge deep clean, if you put a ton of mileage on the machine and you notice that these don't work as perfect as they did, print new guides. Because again, it's trying to add the kerf of your actual machine into your project. And if you made it the day you bought the machine and now it's 2 years later and you've cut thousands of things on it, it might be time to recut these. I would make them from a nice 1/4-inch wood, so you reduce the possibility of scratching acrylic, and they're going to have enough rigidity. And this is the version I recommend if you're only going to print one, because it's very, very accurate. That 199 is perfect. I could get it in that 198, but I can't get it all the way to that edge. That 199 is nice. What's interesting about this is, like we said, you can't share this tool. So I must give it out in a digital file so that you could cut it on each of your machines. And while that's amazing on its own, here's how we could use these in tandem with another product that I'm offering. It's called Product Ready. If you go on Etsy, you'll routinely see items that say that they're laser ready. They're sometimes just black and white clip art, right? So they're saying it's laser ready just because it's an SVG file or something, but you're gonna most likely have to bring it into your design software. When I make a file, I'm making it in all of the 36 sizes. So this is what you're gonna get if you buy a phone holder from me. If you already have the guides, you're going to use them on the material, and then you're going to go to the file and you're going to pick the number that corresponds perfectly. So you're going to grab that size, you're going to print out that particular phone holder, and it's going to fit together like this every single time. So to show you, look how perfect and snug that fits. I mean, it almost clips in. That is a phone holder. That is nice and rigid. It's not going to come apart. And it's because I measured it and then picked the exact file. I actually trademarked it. It's pending. It's called Product Ready because you don't even need design software. You simply measure it. You use the exact one that matches it, and you're gonna make perfect stuff. You never have to modify these type of files when you purchase them from me. You'll see it's all the different files that it comes with. Comes with a text file. This is an acrylic. Get that nice fit every single time. This is a tablet holder. My son loves this thing. He couldn't live without it. And again, I'm getting that nice, see, it almost clicks in. And it's the same. So when you, it's just, and this one's every file. So if you measure it, 215, boom, you click 215 and you're ready to rock. And again, this is the size that the slot needs to be in your design program, not the actual size of the material. And that's how it accounts for your kerf, because you know that that material that you're using fits in to a slot that's 0.199. And that's all you care about. You don't care about the kerf. You know that your machine, when you print out this guide, that when you print a box out that's 0.199 in your design program, that it's gonna make a hole that big. And you know that this piece fits in the hole that you made that big. And that's all you care about. And that right there is how you conquer the kerf monster. You just don't even acknowledge that it's there. It's built into the tool, and you no longer have to worry about it whatsoever. I want to point out that if you're making something like this piece, the larger of the pieces, that can vary in material and in thickness, and it's not going to negatively impact or influence your design at all. And this is the piece that we would want to make this slot match this. You could cut a bunch of these on one singular piece and then put them on a shelf. And as you need to make orders, you print these out of anything, no worry in the world on what size it is. You could go ahead and engrave it and whatever you'd like to do. And you know exactly what file to use and what size you need to be, because these have not changed and they've remained consistent. Again, this will go together. And it literally clicks right in. And it wouldn't matter if this were half as wide or twice as wide. All that matters is that slot that's right there. That's the relationship that we're worried about.